Hey there, garden friends. Welcome to the garden. In today's episode, we're going to talk all about staking tomatoes. You know, there's more than one way to skin a cat, and there's tons of ways to help support your tomatoes. As our tomatoes grow, their limbs get heavy, especially with that fruit as it develops. And you know, oftentimes they need a little help, just like all of us from one time or another. So we're going to talk all about staking our tomatoes. And actually this year, we're doing it a special way. In the past here, we've always done them in traditional cages with some stakes to support them. But this year, for the most part, we're getting rid of the tomato cages and we're doing the weave. We're talking about doing the Florida weave. So let's go take a look. All right, so here you can see one of our rows here that we've done with the Florida weave. I think we're about three weaves in, 3 layers. We space each layer out of string or twine. It's about six inches or so, give or take, more or less. And so for us, we start with 2 T-posts, metal T-posts that we hammered really deep into the soil. And that gives us some nice strength. And hopefully you hammered them deep enough because you're gonna want to be nice and strong, because as these develop, they're gonna produce a lot of extra weight that's gonna need to be supported. Our rows here are only about 15 feet long, give or take. We have about, I think, 7 tomato plants in here, all spaced out a couple feet from each other. And so if I feel like if our rows were longer and we had a lot more weight on there, I might actually add some additional posts. It could be additional T-posts, or I've seen some great options where you have T-posts on the outside and then you have wood posts on the inside to help support the string and the weight of the tomatoes. So that's an option if you have longer runs. For us, I think this might do the trick, but you know, who knows? Well, we're gonna learn a bit this season with how much weight these things are gonna produce. Hopefully quite a bit, but hopefully we can keep them off the ground. So with us, we used a nice organic material. This is a sizzle twine. Bought it over there at the store across the street. It's like $5 or something for a 300-foot roll. So if you're doing small amounts, that might be pretty helpful. For us, it's great because then at the end of the season, I can just cut it. It's organic and we can throw it all into the compost, break it back down into soil. If you want to reuse your twine, or maybe have some twine that has some extra strength in it, or if you like to purchase twine that maybe comes in a much larger roll, then maybe your nylon or your poly twines or string, those can be very strong and durable, reusable, and affordable as well. You can buy them on much larger rolls typically. So it's dealer's choice what you want to use. We use the sizzle twine here, and hopefully it's going to do good for us. Like I said, we're 3 rows in, so really it starts off with a nice, you tie it off on one side, and then you start running it nice and taut. And I'll show you an example here, because actually earlier this week I tied this row up because it had just reached another level, but it's already only been, it's now Wednesday, that was on Monday, and so it's already gotten taller even in 2 days. So I'm actually going to maybe consider tying it off either today or tomorrow. Maybe we'll do a demonstration to show you, but it's really simple. You tie it off on one end and you're literally weaving the string from one side of the plant to the other, and then we go across to the other side, give it 3 trips around that post, so that way you don't lose any of that tension, right? You want to keep that tension, and then you run it back, snaking it back through again, weaving it back through on either side of the tomatoes, so that way each tomato is held up on either side by a string, and then they kind of counterbalance each other, so that tension stays nice and tight. The plants are supported, the branches are up off the ground, so as that fruit develops, it's not sitting on moist soil where it can rot, or where rodents can get to it more easily, or pests. So for us, this is really going to be a great way to support it. So without further ado, let me show you some of the materials that we use to make this happen. All right, so here we go. So the materials are really simple. So here I got a roll of my twine, and I've actually stuffed it through this tube here. And actually I've realized, if I was gonna be doing this all day, or doing it for quite a bit, or longer runs, I feel like a longer tube for me, about a 3-footer, is gonna be really good. And you're gonna see why here in a second, because this helps kind of direct that string, and you can kind of navigate your way in and around these plants without having to bend down and get down in there. So if you got back problems or anything else, and you want to save yourself a sore back, having a longer tube is probably going to be helpful for you. So I can't wait to test that one out. But for demonstration's sake, I'm going to show you really quick. What we do is we tie this off to one end, and then let's see, let me do it right now. I'm going to tie it off a few rows around. You don't got to be too crazy about it, but just get it to where it's not going to slip or loosen. You want to get it right where you want it and tie it off, firmly. There we go. That'll work. Like I said, you give it a little tension, and if it feels good, you're good to go. And so with this, it's great because you can pull back on your string and get tension, and you can find out, okay, I need to go on this side of the plant, and you can use this tube right here, this PVC. This is an old spare piece of PVC pipe, works really good. And then this helps you really just put that string right where you want it, and you just weave your way around these plants, going on from one side to the other, all the way down. Like I said, you're gonna wanna loop yourself around, keeping that tension nice and tight around the other T-post, loop it around, and then bring it on back and weave it back through, and then tie it off real tight. And that's gonna be your next level to help support these up. And it's gonna, basically, the 2 strings are gonna come on either side right there and hold her right up. I think it's gonna do a great job for us. So I feel like if you're at home and you're growing a lot of tomatoes in a row, this might be the best way, or one great way to actually grow them and support them, using maybe less materials, because who wants to have massive stacks of tomato cages if you're gonna be growing a lot of them? Now I have a few tomato cages that I'm gonna show you in a second where we had some leftovers where they're like brand new cages. So I'm like, you know, we got to use these cages, but let's do a hybrid system, because our cages always fall over by the end of the season if they're not, like, you know, staked individually. So now instead of doing that, we're going to use the T-posts, some string, and the cages to hopefully grow some. So I'll show you that really quickly as well. Yeah, so check this out. So this is kind of an experiment for us. I'm really pleased with the way the Florida Weave is turning out. You can see our rows right there, at least a few of them, where we trained them, and you can see sometimes some of your plants might be above one row, other ones might be working their way up, and that's fine, because as they grow, you can kind of just stuff them through as needed. If a branch grows out and it didn't quite make it into the weave, sometimes you can gently weave them back in there to give them support. But you can see there's no cages here, but they're doing a killer job. So I'm really pleased with the Florida Weave. However, like I said, we did have some new cages, and so I was, you know, considering, you know, let's get after it and have some fun and maybe try to utilize the cages, but also support them with these T-posts and some string, because look, the cages now feel really tight in there. I got them pushed into the soil, but for us, they've always had issues by the end of the season with just an overgrown plants that by the end of it, they just weigh it down and topple them over if we don't individually stake each one with a really nice solid stake behind it, bamboo pole or, you know, redwood stake or whatever you have. But for now, we're trying to test this out, see how it works. We'll probably have to do a follow-up video to see which method kind of works out better. Is the hybrid system going to be helpful? Or is it just better just to go straight Florida Weave? We'll find out. But I'm thinking we'll probably have solid results either way, because really it's all about just keeping those tomatoes up off the ground. If you like this video, please comment, like, share, subscribe. We'd love to have you back. We love, you know, talking plants and gardening with folks, for better or for worse. But it's the Florida Weave. It's simple to do, and has great results, at least so far. So we'll see. I hope you liked it. Take care, garden friends.